Hi, my name is Matt, and this is the last part of the inventory creation, which is a part of the series when I show you how to create an RPG game mechanics. And I promised myself I will do everything in one part and go ahead to the next topic, because I guess it might starting to get boring, because just inventory, it isn't the most coolest thing to see in RPG games. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. As usual, we will start with adding some references, but first let's change a little bit this part, because here we are passing name, weight and value manually and setting them in an item frame manually, and this is not exactly what you want to do, because we can just have a public item and this item will contain all the information. Right. So I will pass an item like this and assign all the information we need. Here also something must be changed, because now it takes parameter and parameter is an item. Okay, so now let's see if it's working actually. So the result should be that I shouldn't damage anything. Okay. Let's check the item frames. Yes, they got an item. Okay, so what happened is now I'm passing in a whole item and I'm setting those values in a little bit a different way, and the reason I'm doing that it's because now it contains more information and we will need the model path to draw the object. Okay, so I think it was actually really clear and easy. Okay, now another problem is that you cannot draw any game object on top of the GUI, and this is actually a pretty big problem, because in order to have our item preview and to rotate this item, we need to render it. So the only way to do it, as I recognize so far, is to create a render texture. And render texture is something that allows you to save the image that some camera is rendering on a real time and keep it in texture. So I will create a render texture, call it item preview, and I will also create a camera. I will call it item, and I will keep it close to the inventory menu. Okay, you have to change the display to display 2, and now you see that you've got a space called target texture, so just drop this guy. Now you see something is being rendered. It's just the skybox so far, but well, let's add more. I will move this camera down so that it's under the terrain, and for now I will just add a game object, move it a little bit forward, and I will create another game object over here, and make it rotation transform to 0, 0, 0 because it's a child of this game object. And this sphere will be just for us to see that the camera is drawing an image. And you see now, you see this sphere. And when I click this button, I hold the inspector so that now it doesn't change. I take this guy, move it, and it's moving over here. Okay, so we want it to be here. So item preview, I will create a raw image. I will scale it. Okay, yeah, I had to uncheck this guy because not all the tools were working. Okay. I will keep it as like this, I think. Or maybe not, maybe I will just stretch it like that. So now the same size should be in a camera. Of course it's too big, but it's about proportion. So let's divide them both by 10. Or even more. I do not know if it changes anything. Let's leave it like this. Okay, so field of view, this guy is really big. I will change the near and the far a lot. Like this. Because there is no reason to render in that much space. Okay. So now here in my raw image, I will drag and drop this texture, and you see we've got something, and it is a little bit stretched. I do not know why actually. So let's experiment with that. Alright, so now it's pretty much okay, I guess. Okay, so I will also go into these properties of this texture, add some anti-aliasing. Oops. For samples, you can experiment with that. You can also change the size of the texture. Like this, and the result will be you get a much better looking image, and I will leave it like 1024. Okay, but we do not really want to render the skybox. So here in a camera, I didn't know I said that because I done it mindlessly. You have to set the target display to display 2, because display 1 is what the main camera is drawing, and another thing is that we've got a message that there are two audio listeners, so I will just remove this guy from here because it's just a camera that uses item preview, does not listen any music, any sound. Okay. I also will change this a little bit because we do not now want to render that much of the space. It's not needed. And I will probably move this game object a little bit farther, or maybe not. Okay, so here on my camera I have to, for example, set the solid color. Let's see right now. We've got our sphere. Of course, this gray panel will be transparent later on. And because alpha is 0, the solid color is being just a transparent color. And also notice that when I move my sphere right now, nothing's happening. Actually, because I'm moving everything. When I move my sphere, everything moves fluently. Okay. Now, let's go to the item frame script and add a public integer called index. I think it's worth to set it because it will make our life much easier. Here, when we set up everything in an item frame, we can manually set up its index, because temporary item frame that index equals just item frame count. Whoop, what I've clicked now. So what happened is actually before adding an item, I'm setting manually its index. Adding an item frame, I'm setting its index, and it's basically the count of the list. Maybe I will uncheck hiding inspector. You see that those guys have their indexes, and we also get this list, which is very helpful. For now, it is just a list of a reference. It's just a bunch of references, but we will change it in the future. And when I change, the indexes are still from 0 to 10 when we've got 11 items. Okay, so I just want to show you that this list of references is very important, but I've realized that we won't see much. But it's still very important. Now we need to keep reference, keep actually one integer to remember which frame is active right now. So I will add an int active frame, and over here I will add a public void called activate frame. and I want to set this guy, so I need a reference. Awake. Move it here. We've done it a million times. I just need to find the game object by name. So game object that find by name, that get component inventory. I just set reference to the script, this guy. Frame equals index. So we've got our void. Now we have to just execute it. So here in an item frame, I will add an event trigger, pointer down, plus in item frame. I suggest to pick activate frame. So to check if it's working, I will update. I will just debug it. So I will debug log active frame. Let's see. By default it should be 0. I did not know when I checked it. 1, 0. So you see that it's changing. But when I change the icon, I would like the index to go back to 0. So here in update inventory, active frame equals 0. Now I said something, it's 9, I go other way, it's 0. Okay, so now we know which frame is active. So now I also want to refresh it. So first I will check if they aren't actually the same, because if they are, we do not know now, we do not do nothing because we just click the same guy. If they aren't the same, I would like to instantiate the preview object. So I need a couple more references over here. I need the game object called ref item and the public transform called preview item transform. And the second one I will assign manually because it's our folder, and this guy will be assigned later via scripts. So I will create a public void called preview new item. And I will destroy an item preview. Just in case. And I will instantiate a new one. And it should take a string called model path, game object that instantiate, resources that load model path. Okay, so I instantiated game object, and it's worth to keep reference. So preview item equals okay, let's try a cast. Let's get an object. Okay. It's first time actually I overcome this problem, so it's worth to read the logs and warnings and just do what Visual Studio wants you to do. and here preview item that transform that set parent, and preview item transform, and preview item that transform equals vector 0. That transform the position. Of course, capital T was mistake. So here I will preview new item. Item that model path. Okay, so here I'm passing the model path of an item, and this function creates it. So active frame is called on click, and this guy is called by activate frame. Let's see it. Oh, it creates okay, so this is probably because it should be a local transform here, and also, okay, let's leave it like this. Let's try right now. Oh, you see something. Okay, I will go to the resources folder because will change the rotation of those sorts like this. Let's see. No, because okay, so we got an error. Think that, of course, because we do not have any model for potion. Oh, you see now we've got sort. It's a little bit too close, so I will just move the holder away. I also don't need a sphere anymore. So you see we've got something, but it's falling down because of its collider. So first thing we need to do is to disable gravity. So the brutal way to do it is just to type preview item that get component. We need the rigid value component. Rigid value component that use gravity equals false. This is the most brutal way because we are doing get component and it's actually pretty time consuming, but I hope it will work. Yes, it does. So we've got an item displayed properly, and you see that when I change the item, the model is also changing because it's the different model, not the different texture. We've got two separated prefabs, and that's why I've changed the rotation, because I want them to be like that. And now let's go to the rotation, because I want to be able to rotate this guy. We'll come back. While recording this video, my computer got crashed and I lost all the scene, all things that I've created in the scene, but I hope I've made them as they were. So if something is not right, I'm sorry, but I'm almost sure that everything is even named as it was on the video. Okay, so now let's jump into the rotating of the object. So I need a script called previewed object rotating. Okay, I don't need this. Okay, and first I will implement a function. Also, I need a public bool called currently rotating. So this bool will just remember if the object is rotating, and here I need a public void called start rotating, and I will just make currently rotating equals true. Okay, I will add a trigger, this time to my raw image, and pointer enter, and I need to find this guy and add a function called start rotating. Okay, and here in update if currently rotating, I will transform that rotate new vector 3, and now let's focus on our game object. So if this is camera, I will type E to enable the rotation tools. When I'm moving vertically in my mouse x-axis, I want them to rotate. I want this guy to rotate on the y-axis. So when I move my mouse vertically, this is the y-axis, and when I move horizontally, this is x-axis. So it's it's different than you think probably it is, because you see. Okay, so here I will type input that z-axis mouse x and mouse y, and I will multiply it by 5, and here I will copy this, but I will change it to x, and let's say move, oops, and multiply it by 8, let's say, and 0 in the axis. Okay, and I probably need to multiply it by -1 also. Let's see right now. Yes, it works, I guess. Maybe I didn't have to multiply it by -1. Oh, because it's parented to something, it's worth to consider adding space. That's the word, just in case. I like to add it, but I do not really understand where it makes the difference. But this time it's much better in rotation right now. So not actually, when I'm moving right, I want my item to rotate the same direction. So I will probably here should multiply it by -1. Let's see. It's actually much less intuitive. So let's leave it like it was before. In this configuration, it's completely experimenting. You can add your own values. You can, I don't know, speed up it, slow down. It's just the idea. Also, you can use our input manage and use those functions to manipulate the mouse. But this is the general idea. So we've got our item preview. It's very nice. Actually, it's very hard to manipulate this, and when I click it back, I want it to stop rotating. So if we just add code like that, which goes like if input that get mouse button down 0, current rotating equals false, it won't work because it will be disabled when enabled. So you see that I do not even get this checkbox because at the same time when I'm enabling this via event trigger, this script disables it. Okay, so there is another way to do it, and let's move it over here, and we need a float called time on time preview, and we will make it 0 over here, and every time we will add time delta time, which is basically how much time was from one frame to another, and this update is of course executed every frame, so we will get it, and we will be able to disable the rotating when time previewed is greater than, I don't know, 0.5 f. maybe even we need a smaller number. Let's see how fast I can do it. And yes, here I need to check if it's currently rotated, because now it's also, now this time it was enabled when it was being disabled. But now oops, if it's not rotating, okay. I think that 0.5 is too much. I think even 0.15 is okay, because we just do not want them both happen at the same time on one click. Okay, so you see that the item preview is working. Then I can change, take another item, also preview it as I wish. Okay, so this was the item preview. Now let's jump to the statistics. Okay, I've skipped adding the text because it's boring. I just press UI add and add lots of stuff. Over here I've got item name, item value, weapon type, weapon prop, armor type, armor property 1 and 2, potion type and potion prop. When I click them they go like that, but when I restart the game they're okay, back to the normal state, and they are on top of each other because I want to display only those connected to the item type, which is already shown. And I also got 2 of those guys because I think they look much nicer. Okay, so let's start. First thing I advise you to do, because we'll add a lot of reference, to just create a public class called stats field. And one instance of this class. Make this class serializable. And it's because now when you will add a reference to those guys, they will be added over here. So I will just add lots of game objects. Just name, value, and now I will just I have to watch over here because I do not remember. Weapon type, weapon prop, armor type, armor prop 1, armor prop 2, potion type, potion prop, and this is all. And here you see in my inventory manuscript, I do not have anything because I didn't save it. Really? Yes, I didn't make it public, of course. So now, because it's public, it will be displayed here in an inspector. And
it is basically just to keep our things organized. Because imagine that having those those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 or 9 game objects over here, it's very easy to miss something, and here it's actually pretty okay, in my humble opinion. Okay, so now, because it's public and serializable, I can access to all of them and drag and drop everything on its place. Or actually, maybe not. Maybe I will use a Unity engine.ui, and I will just add a text over here. They should disappear, but when I drag and drop the game object, Unity finds the component that fits here for me. So now I do not have reference to the game objects, but I have a reference to the components, and I can easily reference the game object by typing that game object, and I will show you later. For now, I've got the properties, so let's add some functions over here. So first will be public void coil called disable specific props, and I will basically that game object that set active false, and I will apply it to every game object, every text which is not value and name, because they will be displayed at every time actually. Oops. Yeah, it's some copy pasting, but not too much, I think. What I misnamed them. Okay. So now when this function is called, all of the game objects disappears, because this is the reference to the component, and when I type game object, it gets the game object that the component is assigned to. Now we will add another void called specific stats props, and here I will take a parameter which is an item IT, and I will just check if item is weapon. So if it's weapon, I will make a weapon type active, weapon type that text equals, and now actually I've got only one weapon type, so I will just assign something like one-handed sword. If you have multiple item types in your game, you'll probably make some case over here. Anyway, now I will also make a weapon prop active, and the text will be damage plus, and now I have to get the value of the damage of the item, and I have to
upcast it or downcast it. I never know. It's probably the downcasting, or maybe. Oh, okay. I don't want to be wrong here, so I will basically create a new weapon. So I will create weapon W is equal to weapon of item. So I create a weapon and I take my item and make it a weapon. So I say to my compiler Harry, for now it's weapon, and assign it over here. And now I can add W that damage that to string. To string is not probably necessary, but I like to add it. Okay, after a shortcut I have written everything. So the same goes for armor. We've created an armor from an item. Then we make every GUI element that belongs to it shows armor properties active, and we change this name. And again, if you have multiple armors, you can make some if-else statements over here and make it actually mean something. For me, it's just a constant string because I'm not creating game. I'm showing you how to do it. Okay. So now let's actually apply it, because now there are just functions. Just functions. So well, you remember the function called activate frame, which was probably over here. And here in my inventory menu, I would like to also do this. So you see we have adding an index, changing the model path. So over here we can also add inventory menu that, and those functions belongs to the class called to the instance of the stats fields called stat field, to the instance of a class named stat fields with capital S, named stat field with without capital S, so that's stat field. That, and we search the function called disable specific props, which we call, and after that show specific prop, and we need to pass an item, which is an item over here, because you remember this is the item that every item frame carries. Okay, let's see if it's actually working, because I'm not sure. Whoops, we've got a problem, but the problem is that the thing that we want to instantiate is null. It's because we are searching from the game object that does not exist. When I was preparing this script, I was almost sure that when Unity does not found what we were looking for in inspector, it basically creates an empty object, and looks like it's just thrown an error. So actually I will just search for something that we have, like here, object reference notes. Okay, okay, that's weird. Maybe we missed a reference. Of course. It's probably because I've changed the name and it disappeared. Okay, let's do it now. We've got the damage, it's one-handed, and the value is okay, because I didn't set the basics. I just set the more specific. Okay, so we also need a public void show basic props. It basically will just change the name and value. So the name.text equals item.name, and value.text equals value plus item.value that to string, and over here I like to show basic props before I show more specific ones. Small I, it's the name of the instance. Okay, now when we jump over here, we've got Zephyr. It's one-handed, its value is 340, and its damage is it's 60. Okay, and when we try something different, we've got this problem of the instantiating. So let's quickly go to my inventory. I will just change them to something that we already have. I'm not gonna create an objects. Where is it? Inventory menu. It's probably in my game manager. Yes, it does. So actually I will play the game, take the armors, potions, and I will just take a great sword and copy the path to the model. So yeah, and now I have to click F5. Inventory was saved. Now all of those armors will have short, will look like a sword, but who cares? You see that the properties are displayed properly. So we've got melee and range defense. Same goes over here. Here we've got a potion of mana, potion of healing. Actually, potion of mana is still health potion. Maybe we'll change it in the future. But you get the general idea. And the last thing I want to do is I will take those panels. I make the background color full alpha. Okay, couple of things we need to change at the end is basically I think I've item icon filter, let's find it, because okay, over here at the beginning I would like to start with 0 to have all of the items at the beginning. I also do not need an update anymore. I do not want to debug anything for now. And of course now the problem that we have is basically that when we first jump to the inventory, we've got nothing. And same here, even if I have something here, like I click something here, like steel armor, I go here, I still got the steel armor. So when I jump to the new tab, the inventory does not refresh. And it might be annoying, but it's really easy to solve. I have already created some functions over here, because, well, it's just typing. I've created a function called disable basic props, which gets rid of the name and value, and I've also changed the show basic props because I've decided that sometimes we will need to hide them as well. Okay, now let's jump and do it really quickly because it's easy. First, over here we are adding we are adding something to item frames, and after that, if item frames that count is equal to 1, that's 0, because we are after adding an object. So in the first loop, the first round of loop, we will add an object. Over here the count will be 1, and I will do it after setting the values, of course. I will just tmp.itemFrame.activate frame, and this is basically a function that you remember probably from the last episode, and I can call it by GUI or by scripts, and this time I'm using them by scripts. So after
when drawing all of those items, I basically activate the first guy. And you also have to change the active frame to -1. I have already do it and I've forgotten about it. But you must do it because if it's 0, you've got a bug because you cannot activate the first item, because over here it checks if it isn't the same that it was before, and when you start with 0 it is. So basically I've changed it to -1. It doesn't matter, I just do not want to be the starting number. And here in activate frame it will be bug 0. And if it's not, so after all of this stuff, if activate frame is equal to -1, it means that we have no items in inventory. So it's also worth to disappear the preview and the properties. So that's why I create a function called disable stat fields that disable basic props, stat fields that disable specific props. I splitted them because I want to get back to the inventory later and add some cool features, and it will be very useful. But for now, to be honest, it doesn't matter. You can you don't have to separate them. And I also would like to destroy the item pref. So destroy item pref or pref item. Okay. Now let's see. This should work. We've got the first item initialized properly, and we do not have nothing. It's nothing displayed. Okay, so this was the inventory. We still do not have models, and it's much cool features to add, but I hope you get the basic idea and you like this large part of the series. And the next part will be a melee combat. It will be also very large, but I think it's interesting to do something different than GUI stuff and items, and we'll work with animations and very cool stuff. Okay, but for now, thanks for watching, stay tuned for more videos, and goodbye.